Good afternoon, Saints. This is Sharon from the House of Prayer, and we're going to finish up today with the rest of the videos on truth. It might take two videos, but I'm going to get them up today. I'm going to start talking about number 35 and what he said before he went away. When he found out what the clowns in America were doing, what they were planning for the future, he informed them that he was coming after them and ripping them into a million pieces. Not an exact quote, but close. Due to the fact that he really didn't leave the planet, he has been working on their demise ever since. But more about that later. Let's draw our attention to the little boy who saluted the horse-drawn carriage that he thought his father was in. He became friends with 45 early in life. These two smart men, along with 35, has been devising a plan for a long time. John Jr. was going to run for Congress in New York at the same time Evergreen was running. So his life was in danger. Through the help of 45, they devised a plan where he would disappear for a while to be able to assist in taking down the cabal. So John, Caroline, and her sister were getting on a plane and staged their deaths. I'm going to give you a list of those that our government has lied about. You already know about the Act of 1871, the bonds, that were sold to help out and to pay back the money was stolen. And then by 1999, the final bankruptcy of our nation took place. The cabal schemed to make American citizens to pay taxes on everything, so we would have to work harder to pay them and make money for them, while they stole as much money as they could. We didn't own anything. We talked about that yesterday. We were their slaves to keep the money flowing. Since families had to work harder, and because of it, a lot of people died. Families were broken up. They lost their homes, became homeless. Wars happened for money. Famines happened because the citizens didn't have the money to grow things. But the great thing about that is that God intervened supernaturally and would tell his children that would listen to send food and other supplies to the needy. The churches back then would sincerely help out the hungry and needy. And we all have stories of what happened during the Depression and how our families survived or did not survive. While the Rothschilds, the Pacers, and all the other 13 satanic bloodline families were getting richer and richer. The death of 35 and John Jr. were not real, as we know. The moon landing wasn't real. The spaceship with the school teacher that blew up, the spaceship might have blown up. That might have been real, but there were no people on it. The Vegas shooting was a special operation. The federal building that blew up was a controlled demolition. They had papers in there that they did not want to get out, so they had to do something to destroy it. I'll be talking more deception as we continue with this. Oh yeah, and the Florida demolition of that apartment building was also done, a special operation. I'm going to talk about 35 again for just a minute, because 41 and 43 were the ones that orchestrated that event. Now, since I've already started talking about 41 and 43, everybody that I know love these two men. I mean, their reputation on this earth was of loving and kind men. But they orchestrated, I told you, the plot of 35. Now that we're on the subject of those two men, these men that I loved and voted for, not knowing how evil they were, has something to do with the event on 9/11. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of that major event. And there's a lot happening around that time. So just be patient a minute. They're the ones, I just said, that orchestrated that. Now, 43 positioned himself around children. And this is another time where children are involved with these two men. So he could look innocent when he was told about the event, because he was reading to the children. So the airplanes that we saw, or we thought we saw, were not real. It was CGI. And here we go again with modern technology. We all watched the planes over and over and over go into these buildings, but they never did. People died because they were running to the buildings. Firemen, policemen, and others running to help evacuate the building. We witnessed people jumping out of the windows because of the fire and plummeting to their death. People's families, again, were torn apart. For what? Again, it was all about money. 43 and 41 and Chief Justice Roberts were also involved. He had a cut of the money of $3 million. Now, it's been said that the children that he adopted was not done legally. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the controlled demolition of those two buildings was about money. Again, it's all about the money. So they're saying that the Taliban was the cause of it, but it was an internal job. But another reason for it is for Americans to get mad and want revenge. So what happened? We went to a war again. For what? Money. And families were again torn apart. But the servicemen, which is really despicable, had to go and take care of the poppy fields. So they would have the money from the drugs. And we had been taking care of their poppy fields for a very long time. Now, there's an anniversary coming up. Oh, there was an anniversary on 9/11/2016. And at this event, Evergreen was there. But then she was escorted to a van after the event happened. When they opened the door, she saw JFK Jr. sitting in the van, and he said, "You're being arrested." She was so shocked and started to faint. I think that you can remember her getting ready to faint. But a lot of people covered her, and what you didn't see was the handcuffs. They drove away, and she was executed hours after that. But within a couple of hours, you could see another fake or clone or an actor walking down the street. People have seen different clones and doubles on the beach. I mean, there was one really huge woman on the beach that a lot of people were talking about. And then all of a sudden, she'd be skinny again. She went on vacation. She was in the Capitol. She made all kinds of statements on TV, talked about 45 being bad. But she was really gone. And everyone was asking about her and getting mad because they think she's still walking around. Now, I want to bring this date up again because we have another deadline coming up on 9/11/2021. 45 signed an executive order number 30868 that expires on 9/11/21. This is the order that allows President Trump to confiscate all the assets of anyone convicted of treason, child trafficking, sedition, etc. All the crimes. 45 has already removed most of it. A lot was done before he was in office. He was already elected in November, but before he was actually sworn in, he took care of a lot of things in December. He went around the world to visit the alliance. There's 20 countries that are in this alliance. He went there and he talked to the Queen of England. He went to the Vatican and took back the gold with the military that they had stored up for a very long time. And the military arrested the Pope. Remember the day that the Pope came to the window and waved to people outside? There was like thousands out there. And then turned around and then quickly disappeared. He didn't even hardly have time to take a step or two. That was CGI. Someone made a mistake and turned off the CGI too fast. But thinking about it again, was it really a mistake? We are seeing illusions. The palace has been boarded up for a long time now. They took down the emblems by the gate. Remember when 45 went to England on D-Day and walked in the front of the Queen? That was to show the world who was really in charge. He went ahead of her instead of behind her to inspect his troops, not hers. If you've been paying attention, you would notice that a huge number of CEOs, presidents, and world leaders have either resigned or disappeared. As I just mentioned the above, there is the executive order that expires on 9/11. So the rest is going to be happening very soon. There is a quantum financial system going into place very soon also. Banks have already been educated on this. They sign non-disclosure paperwork to keep it quiet. Stock markets will crash, but don't worry about your money because they took pictures of your accounts and they know how much money you have invested. So you will get that back. This is where you will see Psalms 91 come into fruition, we will see the transfer of the wealth taking place. The cabal even had been buying and selling all of humanity. When we were born, we were given birth certificates, but those birth certificates were sold around the world. So literally, we have been sold and used. And when this is all over, we can get that money back that they owe us because they were using the birth certificates. We will see also in Psalm 91, the wicked received their justice. The diseases that have people suffering for years and years and years were created by Big Pharma, like Ebola, HIV, polio, and others, for money. Now let's talk about the actors who are playing these roles. James Wood is playing the role of 46. The real one is no longer living. Joan Rivers, who is alive, is playing, how do I say it? Pig Lucy. Now, we thought she was taken out years ago because she outed when a reporter asked her about would we have a gay president. She said, we already do, and then called the wife a tranny. We all have been thinking that AOC was an awful person, but really she is a Trojan horse and considered a white hat. And Pelosi is also working with the white hats because she didn't want to die. So she has agreed to go to prison for the rest of her life. I'm going to stop right here and start a new video.